question that we have, the first question we have is wanting to find a way to visually see on the chart the time restrictions placed on the BloodHound signals. So for example here, let me open this up. Let me open up BloodHound. So say you're using a time solver, right? So I've already pre-created this time solver here, right? So this is a time session solver here from the list, and I just renamed it. And I set the session to the U.S. equities regular trading hours, right? So that's, that's 9:30 Eastern time to 4 p.m. Eastern time, right? So when I use this solver with with my rest of my logic, it's going to restrict the signals here, and we can see that on this side of the chart, and let me get my colors set back again here. So on this side of the chart, we can see there's no signals, and that's because that's pre-market trading hours. And over here, we can see all kinds of signals. So that's when the market opens. So we can see the signals, during the market hours. But what Jack would like to see is also some other kind of visual way to see, when the trading when the trading hours can be seen. Basically, when the time solver here, whenever the time solver is allowing signals to get through, Jack would like to see another kind of a visual there. So, the example I built, you can see it's creating an extreme amount of signals here, and I did that on purpose just so we can clearly see, when the signals are allowed and when the signals are not allowed. So, but something a little more practical is, I'm going to make some changes here to this inflection solver. So I'm just using a simple inflection solver to generate some trade signals. So let's say if I switch it over to the SMA, the inflection of the SMA, right? There's less trade signals here. So it may not be necessarily clear as to when the trade signals are allowed to start showing up. Let's see. So there's a couple of ways we can do this. Actually we can see here. If we look down here, we can see the way I'm using BloodHound right now. Really simple. I'm just working on the solver tab, and so the solver tab is showing me both the price inflection, which is my example signals, and then it's also showing the time solver both together. And so we can see when the time solver turns on, right? It creates that steady output from BloodHound, and then whenever the inflection solver fires off, we can see those signals here showing up from time to time. Right, and that shows the racing stripe. So that's kind of one way we can do this. Now that's working on the solver tab. So right, most of us are using a logic template. So let's dive into this on the logic template here and see which, so we'll figure out which logic node we need to kind of get that same look. So, all right, let's see. All right, so I need to come up with a name here. Let's see. So I guess that's some kind of a name that we can use. And let's see. Actually, I'm gonna build another solver here, just so this looks a little more complete. All right, so I'm gonna build basically a very simplistic two solver system here. All right, so basically, this is going to represent my trade signals here. All right. So this is going to kind of represent my signals here, and then I have the time solver over here. So let me just build something real quick. And this threshold solver, I'm just gonna use the MACD above or below the 0 line as just some kind of a quick, simple filter. All right. All right, so we've got some traits. So we got some signals here, and then I'll plug in the MACD filter, and let me give this a name here. All right, so we're just looking at see if the MACD is above or below 0, the 0 line. So I just kind of created some, some filtered out signals here. So, basically, this would represent your signal logic over here. All right, and then down here we have the time solver, which will, restrict when the signals show up. So let's see, before I get going too far, let me put a line on the chart here. All right, so this line separates trading hours from non-trading hours. So we'll see signals from this point on, and then on this side of the chart, we should see no signals. All right, so let's go back to BloodHound here. Let's right, so now if I take my time solver here, let's shrink things up a little bit. All right, as soon as I connect my time solver, bingo, we can see all the signals, pre-market disappear, and we're left with the signals after. But we still don't have a visual, any kind of visual clue or cue as to when the market hours turn on. Basically, a visual cue as to what this line represents. So let's see. One way we can do this is I can take this AND node and instead of the AND node, I can use a ratio node. So let's plug these two things into the ratio node here. Get that out of the way. And if I take a look at the ratio node, so you see how the ratio node, it looks very similar to what you guys saw earlier, coming out of the solver tab here, So this ratio node, it acts a lot like how the solver tab works when you're looking at solvers just coming from the solver tab mode. So here's one way that we can get a visual cue, as to when the time solver is allowing trade signals to come through, because you see that output right there, right? We get this solid block of an output. Now, pre-market, we're going to see the trade signals, but you can see the trade signals are not enough to actually generate a racing stripe, or actually, so the output here of these, the output here that I'm pointing at, the output is not great enough to be treated as a signal, right? So we can see, here, once we get the signal plus the time solver's output, then we get the racing stripes. And when you have the racing stripes, that's what's considered to be a signal. right? So um, there. So that's one way that you can do it. You know, just using BloodHound alone, right? So we can see when the time solver is on, you know, basically is in effect and allowing signals through. And if we can keep scrolling, and actually that's today. I'll have to scroll backwards to yesterday. There we go. And so this is yesterday, and we can see when the time solver stops. When the time solver kind of, you know, effectively turns off, and then no signals are allowed to pass through anymore. All right. So, anyways, that's kind of one way. You know, let's say you don't want to use a ratio node. You're just going to use the standard AND node, right? So we have signals coming through, and then no signals after hours, and then signals coming through. You know, so if you want to kind of use BloodHound in the traditional way, then the other option to see, you know, when the time solver is allowing signals through is you'll have to go find another indicator somewhere. You have to find a custom indicator that can paint your chart. So there are some custom indicators out there on Futures.io and probably NinjaTrader that will do that. But also at the same time, you know, you could use this SiTimeBlock indicator as well. So some of the other free indicators out there on Futures.io, I think it'll print text on the chart, and you can customize that text when a certain trading time appears on your chart. You know, you can customize the text to say, you know, trading, you know, U.S. trading time or European trading time, you know. But the SiTimeBlock, it doesn't have that fancy text. It's just, but it does have colors, so you can use colors on your chart. So let me switch this to my time zone. So I just need to subtract 2 hours. Oops. There we go. So there you go. So I've adjusted the start time and end time for my time zone, and then I'll go in here and adjust some colors. All right. So what I've done is the before start time, I'll put up a gray. Okay. So between the start time and end time. So basically, I set my start time and end time to match my time solver in BloodHound, right? So whatever the times are for your time session solver in BloodHound, you know, that's the times I put here. And of course, you know, you know, you might want to turn off, you know, Monday. Decide what days of the week you want. You know, you want to see these colors here, right? And then getting back to the colors. So after end time, I'm going to color that gray, right? So essentially, it's going to be transparent when the trade signals are going to show up, and then I'm going to apply a gray to the aftermarket hours. So when signals are not allowed to show up, I'm gonna use gray. But of course, you know, this is preference, so you set it up however you guys like it. So let's take a look, see what this looks like. And oh, right, you guys notice here, see how my chart is starting to refresh. Right, when I added that time block indicator to the chart, right, the chart needs to refresh, and BloodHound needs to close when that happens. And since I haven't named my today's BloodHound template, BloodHound's just kind of popping up a little warning, or you know, not a warning, but just an information window there saying, hey, do you want to you know, save this template to a name? So I better say yes, and let's go put in today's date. There we go. Okay, and there we go. So I can use an indicator to paint the chart for me, like so. Now, The problem with using an indicator, a separate indicator to paint the chart is you'll notice I don't have racing stripes on my chart anymore, right? So, and that's because NinjaTrader only allows one indicator to paint the whole chart. So unfortunately, some indicators may prevent BloodHound's racing stripes from painting on the price. So, and yeah, that's a NinjaTrader limitation. So NinjaTrader only allows one indicator to paint the whole chart like that. So, so it's kind of a trade-off there. And let's see. Yeah, well, you can kind of see right there. It goes from black, and then there's a little bit of a gray afterwards. So, and oh, actually, we haven't gotten to after hours. So, let's see. Let's go back to yesterday. There we go. That's a little more obvious. So there you go. So once we get into the gray area, there will be no trade signals. So there's kind of two ways there that you can do that, Jack. I think that does it for Jack's question. Right, so the key is, the key to this, actually I'll just get rid of that and no. So the key to this is using a ratio node with your time solver, and then you take the rest of your signal logic, and plug it into the ratio node with a time solver node there. All right, well, with that, guys, yeah, this has been a good workshop. So, yeah. All right, yeah, I'll just take that as my cue to wrap things up here, guys. And yeah, have a good weekend. And I hope to see you guys next week. And of course, keep your emails coming for these workshops. I appreciate them. So, all right, guys. We'll see you next week. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.